What if the most advanced nation on Earth suddenly realized it was no longer alone in the universe and the universe was already watching it back? The night sky over Wakanda fractures without warning. Not with fire, not with sound, but with silence, an impossible silence that swallows the stars themselves. Satellites go dark. Vibranium sensors scream with data they were never designed to interpret. Somewhere above the atmosphere, something vast and intelligent slips out of warp, unseen by the rest of Earth, but not by Wakanda. And as King T'Challa steps onto the Golden City's balcony, feeling the hum of vibranium beneath his feet tremble like a living thing, one terrifying question cuts through him. Has Wakanda just been discovered by the final frontier or judged by it? The Dora Milaje feel it before they see it. A pressure in the air, a wrongness. Shuri's lab floods with holographic projections as systems activate on their own, ancient algorithms responding to a signal that doesn't exist in any known spectrum. "Brother," Shuri says, her voice tight with awe and fear. "This isn't alien like before. This isn't invasion-level tech. This is organized, disciplined, like a civilization that's been out there a long time." T'Challa doesn't answer immediately. His gaze lifts to the stars, memories stirring of Thanos, of the cost of isolation, of opening Wakanda to the world. The Panther goddess whispers through his blood, a warning wrapped in destiny. Wakanda had prepared for gods, for monsters, for conquerors, but had it prepared for explorers? High above Earth, the USS Enterprise glides in orbit, her hull reflecting the blue curve of the planet. On the bridge, Captain Jean-Luc Picard studies the viewscreen with quiet intensity. "This world," he says softly, "is not as primitive as Starfleet believed." Data's golden eyes flicker as streams of information pour through him. "Captain, I am detecting energy signatures originating from a single nation-state. Their technology output exceeds global averages by staggering margins." Wakanda. Picard reads aloud, the name unfamiliar yet heavy with implication. A supposedly developing country with no space program, no advanced industry yet producing readings comparable to early Federation member worlds. He pauses, considering Starfleet protocol, the Prime Directive echoing like a moral drumbeat. Prepare an observation team, maximum discretion. Back in Wakanda, the sky ripples, not visually, spiritually. The heart-shaped herb reacts violently, leaves curling as if recoiling from an unseen presence. T'Challa's chest tightens. This is not coincidence. This is contact. Activate the planetary shield, he commands. The Jabari drums thunder as ancient defenses mesh with quantum technology. Wakanda vanishes from external view, cloaked not just from sight, but from expectation itself. Shuri looks at him sharply. If they're peaceful, this might be the worst possible first impression. And if they're not, T'Challa replies, voice low, resolute, then Wakanda will not be found unguarded. On the Enterprise, alarms chirp softly, not danger, but confusion. Captain Data says, the region has disappeared, not cloaked in any known sense. It is as though our instruments are being politely told to look elsewhere. Picard allows himself a small, fascinated smile. A civilization that can hide from us, he murmurs, and chooses to. He straightens. Open a channel, broad spectrum, non-threatening. If they can hear us, they already know we're here. In Wakanda's throne room, sound becomes language. Light bends into meaning. A voice speaks not loudly, not forcefully, but with calm authority that transcends fear. This is Captain Jean-Luc Picard of the Federation starship Enterprise. We come in peace, seeking understanding. Every eye turns to T'Challa, king warrior, protector of secrets older than empires. The weight of history presses down on him as he steps forward. If Wakanda answers, the universe changes forever. If it doesn't, the universe may decide for them. T'Challa closes his eyes, just for a moment, and listens to his ancestors, to the Panther, to the future clawing its way into the present. Then he speaks. Tell them, he says quietly, that Wakanda has heard them, and far above, on a starship built on ideals rather than conquest, Captain Picard leans forward as the impossible happens. First contact has begun. What if the first words Wakanda ever spoke to the stars were not a greeting, but a warning? The message does not travel like sound or light. It moves through layers of physics Starfleet textbooks barely theorize, carried on a vibranium-modulated wave that bends subspace just enough to be heard. On the Enterprise bridge, the air seems to thicken as the signal resolves, calm yet unyielding. This is King T'Challa of Wakanda. You are in proximity to a sovereign world under protection. State your intentions, Silence follows not from hesitation, but from respect. Picard studies the invisible king on the other end, feeling the gravity of the moment settle into his bones. This is no frightened pre-warp civilization stumbling into the stars. This is a nation that knows exactly what it is and what it could lose. King T'Challa, Picard replies, measured and sincere. We seek no claim, no conquest. We are explorers, scholars, and, when invited, allies. Data tilts his head almost imperceptibly. Captain, linguistic analysis suggests their phrasing implies readiness for conflict, but preference for diplomacy. Then we are aligned, Picard says softly. In Wakanda, Shuri's fingers fly over holographic controls, decoding the Enterprise's transmission in real time. Star charts bloom into the Air Federation space, Klingon borders, Romulan neutral zones. Her eyes widen, not with fear, but with the thrill of discovery. Brother, she whispers, they are not lying. This galaxy, it is already organized, structured. They've built peace out of chaos. T'Challa watches the maps, his mind racing. Wakanda had hidden from the world to protect itself from exploitation. But what happens when the world is no longer the limit? Peace built by many hands can still become a weapon, he says. Who decides the rules of this federation? Picard's answer comes swiftly, almost warmly. We decide them together, or we fail. The honesty disarms more than any weapon could. In the ancestral plane, the Panther goddess watches, inscrutable. T'Challa feels the presence of his father, of kings past, each bearing the same question. Is secrecy still strength, or has it become fear? Before he can respond, alarms flare crimson across Shuri's lab. Brother, multiple warp signatures. Her voice sharpens. They're not Federation. Aggressive trajectories, decloaking patterns match something called the Romulans. On the Enterprise, the mood shifts instantly. Captain, Worf growls, stepping forward. Romulan warbirds, entering the system. They will not respect neutrality. Picard's jaw tightens. Of course they won't. They never do. He turns back to the channel. King T'Challa, it appears our arrival has drawn unwanted attention. I regret this deeply. T'Challa does not hesitate. Then this is your test, he replies. And ours. The Wakandan sky tears open, not invisibly now, but in a shimmering distortion as three massive warbirds slide into orbit, green energy pulsing along their hulls like predatory eyes. A Romulan commander appears on Wakanda's screens, his smile sharp with calculation. An Earthworld with hidden power. He sneers. How disappointing that you chose to reveal yourselves to Starfleet first. Shuri clenches her fists. They want vibranium, she says. I can feel it. Their scans are crude but persistent. Picard's voice cuts in. Steel beneath civility. This system is under Federation observation. Withdraw immediately. The Romulan laughs. You mistake observation for ownership. Picard, we merely wish to negotiate. T'Challa steps forward, the Black Panther suit flowing over him like living night. Wakanda does not negotiate under threat. He raises a hand and the planet answers. Orbital defense platforms rise from concealment, vibranium cannons locking onto Romulan hulls with terrifying precision. For the first time, the Romulan commander's smile falters. Picard stares at the tactical readouts, awe breaking through discipline. Remarkable, he breathes. A planetary defense grid rivaling core Federation worlds. Worf bares his teeth in something close to pride. These are warriors. The Romulans fire first. Green disruptor beams streak toward Wakanda, but they never land. A golden energy field flares to life, absorbing the blasts, redistributing the force harmlessly into the upper atmosphere. Shuri grins despite herself. Adaptive absorption complete. Their weapons are inefficient. T'Challa's voice is calm, lethal. Return fire. Non-lethal if possible. Vibranium pulses arc into space, not exploding, but collapsing Romulan shields into useless static. One warbird loses power entirely, drifting helplessly. The message is unmistakable. Wakanda could destroy them. It chooses not to. On the Enterprise bridge, Picard feels something rare swell in his chest. Hope. They understand restraint, he says quietly. They belong among us. But even as the Romulans retreat, wounded pride burning brighter than their engines, Data's sensors spike again. Captain, long-range scans indicate that this encounter has been recorded, transmitted beyond Romulan space. Picard closes his eyes. In Wakanda, T'Challa looks back to the stars, knowing the truth now. Wakanda has been seen, not as myth, not as rumor, but as a power, and the galaxy will not forget. What if Wakanda's greatest strength, the power to choose peace, became the very reason the galaxy decided it could not be trusted? The stars seem farther away after the Romulans flee, as if space itself is reconsidering Wakanda's place within it. Debris from the damaged warbird drifts silently, a frozen reminder that restraint is visible, but so is power. On the Enterprise, the bridge hums with low voices, tactical readouts slowly dimming back to neutral. Picard does not sit. He remains standing, hands clasped behind his back, staring at the blue planet below. Today, he says quietly, we did not merely make first contact, we shifted the balance of perception. Data turns from his console. Captain, preliminary projections suggest a 62.4% increase in strategic interest from neighboring powers once news of Wakanda's capabilities disseminates. He pauses. This interest is unlikely to be benign. In Wakanda, that truth is already felt. Council elders argue in sharp, urgent tones. Some speak of sealing the shield forever, of erasing every trace of the encounter. Others, young scientists, warriors who tasted the edge of the unknown, see something else entirely, a future too vast to ignore. The universe knows us now, one elder warns, and knowledge invites hunger. T'Challa listens in silence, his gaze fixed on a hologram of the Enterprise hovering in orbit like a patient sentinel. Picard had not withdrawn after the battle. He had stayed, waiting, asking nothing. That restraint weighs heavier than any demand. The galaxy will judge us regardless. T'Challa finally says, the question is whether we let others define us, or whether we define ourselves. Shuri steps beside him, lowering her voice. Brother, their technology is different from ours. Not better, not worse, philosophical. They build limits into their power. She looks up at him, eyes bright with unspoken ideas. Imagine what we could learn, or teach. In orbit, Picard requests permission to beam down, not as a captain, not as a negotiator, but as a guest. Starfleet protocol screams caution. Every rule about non-interference feels inadequate now that Wakanda has proven itself beyond such definitions. If they say no, Riker says carefully, we leave. No pressure. Picard nods. If they say yes, history begins. The panther suit dissolves into ceremonial robes as T'Challa enters the landing courtyard. Ancient stone beneath his feet, the Dora Milaje standing like living symbols of Wakandan resolve. The air shimmers and then Picard appears, flanked by Data and Worf. No weapons raised, no shields, only curiosity, barely contained. For a moment, no one speaks. Two civilizations measure each other in silence. Then Picard bows his head, not deeply, not submissively, but respectfully. Thank you for allowing me to stand on your world, he says. T'Challa inclines his head in return. Few were invited to Wakanda. Fewer still arrive from the stars. Data's gaze flickers over everything, the architecture, the energy fields, the subtle harmony between nature and technology. This society represents a technological trajectory unaccounted for in Federation models, he observes. You achieved post-scarcity principles without abandoning cultural continuity. Shuri smiles. We don't throw away our past just because the future shows up early. The meeting that follows is not a negotiation. It is a conversation. Ideas collide. Federation ideals of unity and exploration against Wakandan doctrines of protection and self-determination. Picard speaks of the Prime Directive, of the cost of interference. T'Challa counters with stories of isolation, of the damage caused by watching suffering and choosing silence. What if intervention is not domination, T'Challa asks, but responsibility? Picard hesitates. This is not a question, Starfleet answers, isolate. Then, he says slowly, it must be guided by humility and consent. Before the dialogue can deepen, Shuri's console flares again. New signals, many too many. Klingon vessels testing borders, Ferengi trade ships rerouting with sudden interest, even distant Cardassian probes shifting course. The galaxy is circling. Worf's hand tightens unconsciously. They smell strength, he growls, and challenge. Picard turns to T'Challa, the unspoken hanging heavy between them. An offer is forming, dangerous, unprecedented. The Federation could extend protection, Picard says carefully, an alliance, shared knowledge, shared defense. The Council gasps. Protection has always been something Wakanda provides for itself. T'Challa feels the ancestors stir, divided. Some whisper warning, others whisper destiny. If Wakanda accepts, it steps into galactic politics, into wars not of its making. If it refuses, it stands alone against an entire universe, newly aware of vibranium's promise. He looks at Picard, at a man who commands fleets, yet chose to arrive unarmed. Protection, TChalla says, voice steady, often comes with chains. Picard meets his gaze. Only if you allow them. Before TChalla can respond, alarms old sacred ones echo through the city, not from space, from deep within Wakanda itself. A vibranium vault, sealed since the age of Bashanga, has activated on its own, responding to something beyond Earth. Shuri's voice trembles with awe and fear. Brother, it's calling to the stars. And somewhere in the dark between galaxies, something ancient and patient hears it answer back. What if the vibranium that built Wakanda was never meant to belong to Earth alone, and the universe had finally come to reclaim its claim? The vault opens without force, without resistance, as if it has been waiting centuries for permission that never came. Ancient Wakandan glyphs ignite along its walls, patterns older than written language, humming in resonance with a frequency Shuri has never catalogued. The sound is not mechanical, it is musical, and it is getting louder. TChalla stands at the threshold, Picard and the Council watching as history exhales. This chamber predates every king, Ramonda whispers. It was sealed by the first Panther, after the meteor fell. Shuri scans scroll endlessly. The vibranium here isn't like ours. It's purer, structured differently, almost engineered. She looks up slowly. Brother, this isn't just a resource. It's a beacon. In orbit, the Enterprise trembles not from attack, but from resonance. Data's voice cuts through the bridge. Captain, we are detecting subspace harmonics, originating from the planet's core. They match no known Federation signature, but they are being answered. Picard's blood runs cold. By whom? Data hesitates. An eternity for him. Multiple sources. Deep space. Very deep. Wakanda's shield flares as distant points of light ignite across the skyship's not Klingon, not Romulan, not anything in Starfleet's databanks. Their silhouettes are angular, severe, almost ceremonial. They do not decloak. They arrive openly, confidently, like judges entering a court that has already reached its verdict. A transmission overrides all channels. This world holds stolen blood of the stars, a voice in tones, layered and harmonic, neither male nor female. We are the architects, and we have come for what was taken. Shuri's breath catches. They're claiming Picard stiffens. King TChalla. If this is a hostile force, they are not hostile. TChalla says slowly, eyes fixed on the sky. They are offended. The architects explain. Long before Earth learned fire, their civilization seeded unstable stars with adaptive matter vibraniums, ancestordized to evolve alongside emerging worlds. Wakanda's meteor was never meant to land intact. It was meant to dissolve, to teach, then to fade. But Earth's conditions preserved it, and Wakanda built a civilization from what was supposed to be a lesson. You exceeded your design, the architects say, and now your existence disrupts balance. Anger ripples through the council. They want to erase us. An elder snarls. No, TChalla replies. They want to correct us. Picard steps forward, voice carrying calm authority even across species and stars. You speak of balance, yet you would punish a world for surviving. Is that justice, or convenience? The architects pause. A true pause, ships holding position, signals suspending mid-transmission. You are not of this equation, Federation. They respond. Step aside. Picard does not. Wakanda is no longer alone. The implications are immediate and catastrophic. Klingon ships break orbit, weapons charging. Romulan signatures reappear at the edge of the system. Everyone has been listening. Everyone has been waiting for someone else to blink. Shuri whispers urgently, Brother, if they activate the core, they could destabilize all vibranium on Earth, our shields, our cities, everything. TChalla closes his eyes, feeling the panther surge within him. Strength without wisdom is destruction. Isolation without courage is extinction. He opens them again, resolve forged in the fire of impossible choices. Tell the architects, he says, that Wakanda will answer their claim. In person, Picard turns sharply. You can't mean I do, TChalla replies. If vibranium is a language of the stars, then Wakanda will speak it at its source. A delegation forms in moments. Shuri insists on coming. Picard refuses to stay behind. The Enterprise alters course, flanked by Wakandan craft that bend physics with elegant defiance. As they jump to warp together, the galaxy holds its breath. Deep in subspace, the architect's domain unfolds like a living equation, structures grown rather than built. As TChalla steps onto alien ground, the vibranium in his suit pulses painfully, as if recognizing an older authority. You are far from your origin, the architects say, and far from your end. TChalla lifts his chin. Wakanda does not surrender its future. The ground beneath them shifts, not violently, deliberately. A trial has begun, one not of strength, but of worth. And failure will not mean conquest, it will mean erasure. What if Wakanda was never meant to defend itself with power but to prove it deserved to exist at all? The architects do not bind their prisoners, they do not raise weapons or issue ultimatums. Instead, reality itself becomes the courtroom. The space around TChalla, Picard, and Shuri unfolds into layers, memories made tangible, histories rendered in light. Wakanda's past blooms in the air. The meteors fall, Bashenga's first steps as Panther, centuries of secrecy, the decision to hide while the world burned. You thrived by withholding, the architects say, by isolating, by choosing yourselves over the many. Explain. The images sharpen slavery ships crossing oceans, wars raging beyond Wakanda's borders, suffering witnessed but unanswered. The accusation cuts deep because it is not false. TChalla steps forward, heart pounding but voice steady. We survive because the world would have destroyed us, he says. But survival without reflection is stagnation, and stagnation is death. The vision shifts to TChalla, opening Wakanda outreach centers rising, borders no longer sealed. We learned too late that protection is meaningless if it protects only the self. Picard watches, silently moved. This is not a diplomatic exchange. This is confession. The architects turn their gaze to him. And you, Federation, you preach non-interference while shaping the galaxy through absence. Worlds fall because you choose not to act. Is that virtue or fear? Picard feels centuries of Starfleet doctrine weigh upon him. It is restraint, he answers. A flawed one. We have erred, but we strive to learn without becoming conquerors. His voice hardens. Progress without conscience creates empires. We have seen where that leads. The trial deepens. The architects project possible futures. Wakanda as galactic superpower. Vibranium fleets enforcing peace through fear. Wakanda stripped of vibranium, collapsing into chaos. Earth fractured by off-world war. None are illusions. All are probabilities. Shuri stares at the data, breathless. They're not testing morality, she whispers. They're testing trajectory. Correct, the architects confirm. Vibranium amplifies intention. In the hands of those unworthy, it accelerates ruin. They offer a choice, not to Wakanda alone but to TChalla. Sever Wakanda's connection to cosmic vibranium forever, ensuring safety through limitation, or bind Wakanda to the wider galaxy as a steward, not an owner, accepting oversight, vulnerability, and responsibility beyond Earth. Picard turns to TChalla quietly. This is what the Federation should have been asked long ago. TChalla feels the ancestors surge, divided no longer. He sees Killmonger's rage, his father's fear, his own mistakes and the path beyond them. Power without accountability created monsters, he says, including in us. He looks at the architects. Wakanda will not hoard what can heal. We will not weaponize what can unite. The architect's domain trembles, not in anger, but recalibration. Then you will become something new, they say. Neither hidden world nor empire. A bridge. The cost is immediate. Vibranium across Wakanda dims, not dying, but changing, less explosive, more adaptive. Shuri gasps as readings stabilize at lower but sustainable thresholds. They're capping us, she says, but also protecting us. Back in known space, observers panic as energy signatures shift. Klingons see weakness, Romulans see opportunity. Fleets begin to move. Picard's communicator crackles. Captain Riker's voice warns. Multiple powers are mobilizing. They think Wakanda has been crippled. T'Challa's jaw sets. Then let them come, he says softly, and see what Wakanda truly stands for. The architects speak one last time. Your trial is not complete. It merely changes form. They gesture on the stars, rush back. The delegation returns to a galaxy on the brink of war, where perception will decide reality, and restraint may be mistaken for surrender. As warships converge on Earth, T'Challa stands beside Picard, knowing the hardest test is yet to come. Not whether Wakanda can fight, but whether it can lead. What if the galaxy's greatest misunderstanding was mistaking restraint for weakness, and Wakanda became the example that corrected it? Earth's orbit turns crowded with intent. Klingon birds of prey do cloak like circling predators. Romulan warbirds linger just beyond weapons range, their commanders savoring the moment. Even Ferengi vessels hover at a distance, sensors tasting profit in the air. News spreads faster than warp. Wakanda's power has changed. The lie follows just as quickly. Wakanda has fallen. In the Golden City, citizens feel the shift immediately. Trains hum softer. Shields glow less fiercely. Panic threatens to rise, but it doesn't. T'Challa stands before his people, unmasked, voice carried across Wakanda. Our strength was never the metal, he tells them. It was the choice to use it wisely. That choice remains. Picard watches from the palace balcony, struck by the difference between this world and so many he has seen. No riots, no fear-driven demands for retaliation. Trust, hard-earned and fragile, holds. In orbit, the Enterprise takes position between Earth and the incoming fleets. Picard opens a system-wide channel. This world is under Federation protection, he announces. Any act of aggression will be met accordingly. A Klingon commander laughs openly. Protection? From what? Picard. Your words. Weapons, power, spikes in answer. T'Challa steps beside Picard, activating a Wakandan broadcast that overlays the channel. You misunderstand us, he says calmly. We are not unarmed. We are unafraid. Shuri executes her plan. Wakanda does not fire. Instead, it shares. Streams of data surge outward. Medical breakthroughs, energy stabilization algorithms, environmental repair models, knowledge refined by vibranium but no longer dependent on it. Across fleets, systems hiccup as incoming data overwhelms expectations. Ferengi captains freeze. They are giving it away. One snarls. That destroys the market. Romulan sensors flare. The data is real, transformative, and useless as leverage. Picard realizes it then. They've changed the game, he murmurs. The Klingons hesitate not out of mercy, but confusion. There is no honor in attacking a world that refuses to posture. No glory in conquest that gains nothing. But confusion does not stop everyone. A rogue Romulan vessel breaks formation. Weapons charging. Worf's hand snaps to tactical. Permission to fire. T'Challa raises a hand. No. He opens a direct channel to the Romulan ship. Turn back, he says. You will not be remembered as a conqueror today, only as a warning. The Romulan captain sneers and fires. The blast never reaches Earth. Wakanda's altered vibranium network activates, not as a shield, but as a lens. The energy is bent, diffused, redirected harmlessly into space. The Romulan ship's own weapons overload from feedback, systems collapsing in a cascade of failure. The ship is left intact but powerless. Silence grips the system. Picard exhales slowly. Defeat without destruction, he says. That is new. Across the galaxy, the message spreads. Wakanda is no longer a prize. It is a paradox. A civilization that could dominate, but chooses to disarm domination itself. The Klingons withdraw first, grumbling but respectful. There is honor in restraint. Their commander admits, "We will watch you, Panther King." One by one, fleets pull back, not in fear, in recalculation. Later, as stars thin in orbit clears, Picard meets T'Challa beneath a Wakandan sky. "You've forced the galaxy to confront something uncomfortable," Picard says. "That power doesn't have to look like a weapon." T'Challa gazes upward. "Then perhaps we have finally earned the right to stand among the stars." But far away, in the shadows between empires, other eyes watch. Not conquerors, not traders, students. And they are already learning how to imitate what Wakanda has become. The galaxy has not chosen war. It has chosen curiosity. And curiosity can be just as dangerous. What if the most dangerous legacy Wakanda left the galaxy was not power, but an idea that could not be controlled? The stars grow quieter in the weeks that follow, but the silence is deceptive. Curiosity spreads faster than fear ever did. On dozens of worlds, philosophers argue with generals. Scientists argue with priests. Young officers stare at Wakandan data streams and ask questions their civilizations have never tolerated. If power can be shared without conquest, then what justifies empires? Picard reads the reports late into the night aboard the Enterprise. Border tensions easing in some sectors, intensifying in others. They don't know how to respond. He tells T'Challa over a secure channel, "You've disrupted centuries of strategic doctrine. That was never our intention." T'Challa replies, "But it may be our responsibility." Shuri's voice cuts in, excited but edged with concern. "Brother, I'm seeing replication attempts. Not vibranium, but philosophy-based tech. energy systems designed to cap themselves, weapons that deactivate when casualty thresholds rise. She exhales. They're copying restraint. Poorly. The consequences are immediate. On a distant world, a self-limiting defense grid fails under pressure, leaving a city vulnerable. Elsewhere, a warlord claims Wakandan inspiration while enforcing peace through obedience. The idea spreads faster than wisdom. The galaxy is trying to grow up overnight, Picard says grimly, and adolescence is rarely gentle. Wakanda feels it too. Refugees arrive not seeking vibranium, but guidance. Envoys ask not for weapons, but for frameworks. How do you lead without ruling? How do you protect without owning? T'Challa convenes a new council Wakandan elders beside Federation ethicists, scientists, warriors, diplomats. No throne elevated above the others. This is dangerous, an elder warns. We expose ourselves. Yes, T'Challa answers. But we also expose the lie that power must be hoarded to survive. Beyond known space, the architects observe, in silence. The experiment accelerates. They note. Unexpected variables multiply. One variable alarms even them. Data uncovers it first. Captain, he says, unusually urgent. There is a pattern forming among non-aligned systems. Independent worlds are coordinating without formal treaties. No capital, no hierarchy. Picard frowns. A coalition. Not precisely. Data replies. More accurately. A resonance. These worlds are not uniting under Wakanda or the Federation. They are uniting under the idea that no single power should ever again define the future. They call themselves the Quiet Accord, and they are growing. At first, it seems hopeful. Borders stabilize. Conflicts pause. Then the first ultimatum is issued, not with weapons, but isolation. Trade suspended. Travel denied. Entire cultures pressured to conform to a singular moral standard. Shuri slams her hand onto the console when the reports come in. They're enforcing peace by exclusion. She snaps. That's just another empire with better branding. T'Challa's chest tightens. This is the shadow every light casts. We taught the galaxy how to refuse domination, he says softly. But we did not teach it how to forgive difference. Picard meets his gaze through the holodisplay. This is where ideals are truly tested, he says. When your example is used in ways you never intended. The Quiet Accord reaches out at last. Their message is calm, respectful, unyielding. Wakanda began this awakening. Join us, stand apart from old powers. Help us ensure no civilization ever threatens another again. It is not a demand, it is an expectation. If Wakanda joins, the Federation fractures. If it refuses, Wakanda becomes the symbol of hypocrisy. The world that preached restraint but chose allegiance. T'Challa walks alone that night, through the ancestral garden. The spirits are silent now. This choice is his alone. He understands the truth at last. Leadership is not about being followed. It is about being misunderstood and choosing rightly anyway. He opens a channel to Picard. We are at a crossroads, T'Challa says, and whichever path we choose, someone will call us the enemy. Picard nods slowly. That may be the price of shaping the future. Far beyond them, the Quiet Accord mobilizes not fleets, but influence. The galaxy leans forward, waiting to see whether Wakanda will crown a new order, or refuse to wear the crown at all. And for the first time since the stars noticed Wakanda, the wrong choice could tear everything apart. What if the final test of Wakanda was not choosing a side, but choosing a future no one else was brave enough to imagine? The Quiet Accord's influence spreads like gravity, silent, inescapable. Worlds align not by treaty, but by moral pressure. No armies march, no shots are fired, and yet entire civilizations feel themselves being nudged, corrected, quietly erased, all in the name of peace. T'Challa watches the pattern emerge from Shuri's projections. Cultures losing language, traditions abandoned to meet acceptable norms, difference treated as instability. They believe they are saving the galaxy, Shuri says softly. That's what scares me. Picard stands beside him in Wakanda, no longer a visitor but not quite an ally in the old sense either. Every revolution believes it has escaped the mistakes of the past, he says, until it recreates them in a subtler form. The Quiet Accord's final message arrives, broadcast across thousands of systems. Wakanda is invited publicly, symbolically, to stand as its moral cornerstone. Accept, and the galaxy reorders itself around a single, enforced peace. Refuse, and Wakanda becomes the proof that even its own creators lacked faith in the idea they inspired. T'Challa feels the weight of every eye in the stars. This is the temptation his ancestors never faced, not power through force, but power through righteousness, the ability to decide what is right for everyone. He requests one final audience, not with the quiet accord alone, but with the galaxy. The broadcast spans empires, colonies, and forgotten outposts, Klingon halls, Federation classrooms, Romulan war rooms, even the distant Architect's watch, unreadable. T'Challa appears unmasked. "We did not share our knowledge to become your conscience," he begins, "nor your ruler. Wakanda's lesson was never that we know better. It was that no one should decide alone." Murmurs ripple across worlds. Peace enforced by exclusion is still domination. T'Challa continues, "And unity that demands sameness is just another cage." His voice steadies, not angry, not pleading, certain we will not join the quiet accord, and we will not stand against it. We will stand apart. Shock follows. Outrage in some quarters, relief in others. Picard watches, understanding dawning. "You're refusing the crown," he whispers. "Yes," T'Challa says. And breaking it, Wakanda proposes something radical. No alliance, no bloc, no central authority. Instead a living forum. Worlds may come, speak, learn, and leave unchanged if they choose. No sanctions, no isolation, only transparency, shared knowledge, and the courage to disagree without violence. The quiet accord recoils. Without enforcement, your vision will fail. T'Challa meets the accusation without flinching. Then it will fail honestly, and be corrected, not imposed. For a long moment, the galaxy teeters. Then something unexpected happens. The accord fractures not violently, but thoughtfully. Some worlds withdraw, realizing they followed certainty, not wisdom. Others remain, choosing order over freedom. The galaxy does not unite. It balances. The architects speak one final time, their voices echoing like distant thunder. "You were not meant to inherit the stars," they say, "were meant to challenge them." Vibranium stabilizes, now truly what it was always meant to be, not a weapon, not a miracle, but a mirror, reflecting the intent of those who touch it. Years later, the Enterprise departs Earth's orbit. Picard stands on the bridge as Wakanda fades into the blue curve below. "You've changed Starfleet," he admits. "We will never explore the same way again." T'Challa's reply is calm, resolute. "Nor should you." In Wakanda, children look up at the night sky not with fear, not with ambition, but with curiosity. The stars are no longer conquerors or promises. They are conversations waiting to happen. Wakanda does not rule the galaxy. It does not hide from it. It stands within it unchained, unbowed, and finally understood. And somewhere among the infinite stars, the universe adjusts not to Wakanda's power, but to its choice.